Those with mental disorders, how would you describe your struggles to someone without it? Narcissistic personality disorder. I'd say there's nothing wrong with me. Depression and anxiety. You asking why I can't get out of bed is the same as asking a dude with broken legs to get out of bed. The way I describe my OCD, this might not be apt for all OCD sufferers, is that my brain fixates on completely irrational things and it is the absolute end of the world if I don't rectify it in some way. Thankfully my medication turns the end of the world into an annoying inconvenience, but that's what it was like pre-meds. Imagine eating food that's sickeningly bland and translate that into any activity, fun, or work. You know you need to eat, but the food is so horrible that it's literally a chore to eat. Same for pretty much everything else in your life. That's what depression felt like to me. Borderline personality disorder and bipolar type 2. I've been given both at different times. I describe them both as feeling very basic emotions, happiness, sadness, and anger specifically, in their most aggressive forms. When I'm happy I'm completely over the top. Loud, boisterous, and what I think is fun and friendly. When I'm sad it's overwhelming and often full of suicidal ideation. When I'm mad it's basically rage. I have no fear, and no concern for the fallout. Thankfully even at my worst I'm not violent toward anyone but myself. I'll scream and say horrible things but that's where it would end. I'm going on 2 months of being relatively stable though. I'm finally seeing a doctor who listens. I've been consistently doing therapy for about 6 months and things are looking up. I don't exactly have a disorder, I have something but no one knows what it is. It's been described as kinda like dyslexia but not dyslexia, or the people we've seen about it just say there's something there but I'm not quite sure what. Basically I learn differently but not just that, I have trouble putting thoughts into words, or saying what I'm feeling. It's hard to explain but I'd describe it like the feeling when you try and read while you're half asleep. You see the words, you see the letters, you hear the sounds, but the meaning doesn't go in unless you read it again and again. Only for me the thoughts are always stuck in the transition to words. A war that never ends. And not everyone wins their war. The situation is not rationable. I mean, the manifestation of unwellness may be rational or irrational, but the solution is not going to be found through a rational epiphany. It may seem like your solution to someone else's mental discord totally makes sense, but one can't reason their way to health. That's why it's an illness and not a mood. In my experience, it didn't matter how I described it. They still didn't understand or tried to play it off like I was being dramatic. This is why I don't talk to anyone about my depression. When I get manic I lose time. I either don't remember the decisions I've made or I'm suffering the consequences. And then just like a switch was flipped, back to normal. I have Tourette's syndrome. The way I like to describe it is that when I tick, an involuntary repetitive action, it feels similar to having an itch. For example, I may have a tick where I feel the urge to jerk my head to the side. I could ignore that feeling for a while, but it only gets harder to hold it in the longer I try to hold back. People like me with TS can have several ticks at a time. It's how many others have, but I usually have around 6 to 8 different ticks at all times. Imagine having an annoying itch in 6 to 8 different places at the same time 24/7 for most of not your entire life. It's a nightmare. Autistic, clinical depression and anxiety with BPD. It's like being on a broken roller coaster that never ends. With the random hurricane coming through, Tess ring up the track more but the coaster still staying. ADHD not as bad as other disorders but does cause some slight issues in my life. Oddly enough I chose a field where attention to detail is a big part of it. I check my work like 5 times then another 10 times but still miss stuff somehow. My wife has slowly started adapting over the last 2 years once we got married. But I live a pretty productive life so I can't complain. Anxiety disorder. You know that awful feeling you have before getting in trouble or when you know something is dangerous. I have that all the time. I get scared and panic attacks when I see a white truck. This is because of the terror attack involving a white van killing 88 people by running them over. 14 July 2016, 11:30 p.m. At the deepest level of my depression, I truly felt like it was impossible for me to feel happy ever again. All hope of feeling joy was gone. A total absence of hope. It wasn't that I thought I was unliked or unloved. I didn't call for help that day because what was the point? It was impossible for me to get better. I am so thankful that my suicide attempt was not successful. I regret trying. I regret what I put my family through. I am better now. I have a good drive. I don't to ever go down that path again. OCD. It's like having a bully in your head constantly harassing you with the same thought to make you doubt about who you are or that you're secure. When I turned 17, I constantly all day and night uncontrollably challenged my sexuality. No matter how much I fought against the thought, it just came back and I couldn't get rid of it. I thought I was an insane person. I would avoid looking at men as a compulsion so I just wouldn't have the thought. I would avoid movies if I knew there was a gay actor in them. I would check to see if a certain person was gay so I knew to avoid them. I would force myself to look at women. I would look at pornography to prove to myself. No matter what I did, the thought wouldn't stop. There were days where I would feel beat down and depressed by my own brain. Days where I would give in and have a panic attack. You're 17 and you have no idea what OCD is, and this is before the internet. You're afraid to tell someone because you assume they'll just tell you that you're gay and that you have to just give in to the thoughts. You're afraid you'll have to change who you are as a person to fit this identity your own mind is trying to pester you with. This is what it was like for 10 years off and on until I started to understand what OCD was. I'd rather say I puked than explain to someone how I feel. I think we would all agree that life is very much like a roller coaster ride. Those of us with issues, our ride is the same, except we have sections of tracks missing. Like a constant struggle up a torrent of water. It feels like there's a person inside my head who hates to see me succeed, like an imaginary bully that only I can see/hear. I grew up with anxiety, social anxiety, and OCD. My OCD was the magical thinking type, and I believed that if I did not do some specific thing, things would go to shit. I guess the biggest struggle was thinking that I was crazy, and apt to be placed in a mental institution. It was also hard not knowing if I would overcome certain things. It wasn't until my freshman year of college that I realized all I had all along was anxiety and that I wasn't a crazy person. End number X200B. Mental illness was frowned upon while I was growing up, and basically, being in denial and pretending it's not there was the option of least resistance. That's the main reason I did not realize what I had until I was older, when it became more talked about. My depression is basically that, every so often, everything is terrible, and I can't even feel bad about it, just extremely numb, and it fucks with my thoughts and feelings. Mostly happens around the summer, though it happens at other times less frequently. My anxiety is basically that I hear enemy encounter music all the time, but there's no enemies in sight, and I overthink everything as a result. My arrogance/narcissism and my self-esteem issues just alternate weekends, like I'm the kid in a divorce settlement. Imagine going grocery shopping but you aren't allowed to use cart, and you need milk, bread, eggs. Oh look, there's a sale on cereal. Oh look, pasta. Oh no, is that weirdo following me? Yes, he's following. Crap, does he think I'm stealing? He must think I'm stealing since I had to tuck that banana in my pants, so I must look like a pervert. Is he interested or going to report me? Oh no. Oh no, I think I left the front door unlocked. I can't remember. Oh no, someone is going to rob my house and I just tripped and fell. Now all my groceries fell on the ground. Now I'm hyperventilating because I'm embarrassed and mad at myself. Why do I always make myself look so stupid and inappropriate? Something is wrong with me. I hate myself, can't do anything right. That paint a good picture? It essentially the big sad and will always kick you while you are down. Like there's a fire in my house. It's reaching my room where I lie in my bed. I just can't get up and don't bother to get up. I wouldn't, people would not be able to understand. I want neither your ignorance nor your faked pity. Oppositional defiant disorder. I think you're wrong. Comparison is one of the most hurtful things someone can be told when dealing with mental struggles. And yet I continue to do it to myself. Try to make small healthy steps towards help. I know it's a fight that just goes on and on and on. Just remember there are people here more than ready to support you. That's very interesting. I wonder if I have the same disorder. I've always described it in a similar way. It's like my brain reads the words, but struggles to process them. Because of this, it takes me so much longer to read things than it should because I'm constantly having to go back and reread the same sentences over and over again. When I saw a professional about it, he never gave the disorder a name either. He just called it a reading disorder with speed and comprehension. I haven't heard anyone else share similar problems before, so that would be interesting if I did the same disorder. At times do you say things without thinking, like speaking what you wanted to say but in a slur? Also, do you at times read backwards? Anxiety. You're both making me nervous. Yeah, I seem to have half the symptoms of autism and half of the symptoms of dyslexia, but not enough of either to get fully diagnosed with either one. Nope, not at all, that's the thing, I seem to have symptoms of different disorders but not enough to diagnose me with a certain one. Antisocial.